George has an evil twin and we finally found proof. Everyone thinks they know the Pig family. Peppa, George, Mummy Pig, Daddy Pig. A perfectly normal family living in a perfectly normal house on a perfectly normal hill. Simple, right? But what if one of those family members isn't who you think he is? What if someone has been sneaking into this family's life, replacing one of its members, and nobody has ever officially acknowledged it? Today, we're uncovering one of the most unsettling theories in all of Peppa Pig. A theory built on real clues hidden across multiple episodes. And once you see it, you will never unsee it. George Pig might have an evil twin brother. His name? The show certainly isn't going to tell us. So we're calling him Greg. Grab your snacks, get comfortable, and let's go through every single piece of evidence. Because by the end of this video, you're going to be a full Greg believer. The hearing aid clue. Let's start with the detail that cracked this whole theory. Wide open. In 2026, Peppa Pig revealed that George has moderate hearing loss. It was a genuinely lovely moment. Kids with hearing aids finally had a character who looked just like them. Fans celebrated, parents praised the writers, and it felt like a real step forward for representation in children's television. But then someone started asking questions. Because George had already taken a hearing test before this episode, and he passed it. Completely clean results, no concerns whatsoever. So how does a child go from a perfectly clean test to suddenly needing a hearing aid? The show offers a convenient explanation. The doctor says, this happens sometimes. And sure, medically, that's technically possible. But what if the real reason those two tests gave different results is that they were taken by two completely different pigs? The George who passed the first test was the real George. The one who showed up for the second test was someone else. Someone who actually does have hearing loss. And the doctor simply assumed it was the same child. The behavior problem. Now let's talk about the thing that makes this theory impossible to ignore. George's personality is not consistent. And we're not talking about small variations. We're talking about moments where he behaves so completely out of character that they feel like a different show entirely. The George we know is gentle, quiet, and a little timid. His whole personality revolves around dinosaurs and the occasional emotional meltdown. He cries easily, follows Peppa's lead, and is absolutely not mean to other children. So let's talk about what happened with Richard Rabbit. In that episode, both boys build sandcastles on the beach. Nice, innocent activity. Then completely without warning and without any provocation whatsoever, George walks over and destroys Richard's sandcastle. Not because of an argument, not by accident, he just destroys it for absolutely no reason. That is not George Pig. The real George would never do something that cruel and pointless to another child. But Greg would. Then there's the big build, where Daddy Pig announces the family needs to temporarily move out during home renovations. If you know George, you know exactly what to expect. Tears, whimpering, hiding behind Peppa. Instead, George looks directly at his father and shouts, "No!" with an expression of pure anger. Not sadness, not confusion, rage and defiance, aimed straight at Daddy Pig. In the entire run of this show, George has never confronted his parents like that. That wasn't George on screen, that was Greg. And Greg has absolutely no problem showing his true feelings. Where did Greg come from? So why does nobody talk about him? Why does he have to secretly pretend to be his own brother? Greg and George are identical twins, born at the same time, looking exactly alike in every way. But from early on it became clear these two boys were nothing alike on the inside. Where George was calm and sweet, Greg was difficult, wild, and eventually dangerous. Dangerous enough that Mummy Pig and Daddy Pig made the hardest decision parents can make. They gave Greg up for adoption. Not because they hated him, but because they had two other children to protect. But Greg didn't move on. At some point, he escaped his adoption placement and came back. Back to the house, back to the family that gave him away, and back with a plan to slip into their lives by pretending to be the brother they kept. The attic. Here's where the theory stops being just behavioral and becomes physical. Real evidence hiding inside the Pig family home. Peppa's house has an attic. It doesn't appear in every episode, but when it does, like in Playgroup Star, we can see it's absolutely packed. Wall-to-wall boxes stacked high with barely any room to move. And among all those boxes, there are toys. Lots and lots of toys. Now think about that. Peppa and George's toys are in their bedroom where they can actually use them. So why are there so many toys in the attic that nobody plays with? They're for Greg. Mummy Pig and Daddy Pig know he's back. They've allowed him to set up a living space in the attic, surrounded by toys to keep him calm. It's not a loving arrangement, it's a fearful one. They're not welcoming Greg home, they're managing him, keeping him just satisfied enough that he doesn't do anything worse. Every time the attic appears in an episode, Greg is somewhere in there, tucked behind those boxes, invisible to us, but very much present. The scoreboard. In the episode Mummy Pig's book, the kids gather around the family computer to play a game, and a scoreboard appears on screen. Most of the initials are easy to decode. P is Peppa, GEO is George, MMP is Mummy Pig, GPP and GNP are the grandparents, and Suze is Susie Sheep. Every single entry has a logical explanation, except one. Right at the very bottom, with the lowest score on the entire list, are the initials OP. Nobody in the Pig family has those initials. Nobody who regularly visits the house has those initials. There is no named or unnamed character in the show whose name produces that combination. So who was sitting at that computer? Our best guess, Otto Pig, which might actually be Greg's real name. Or maybe he typed random letters just to be disrespectful, because following rules has never really been his thing. And the score, 142 points, is embarrassingly low. But let's give him some grace. Greg can only come out at night when the whole family is asleep and the house is completely dark. Playing a computer game in total darkness while trying not to make a sound is not ideal gaming conditions. We're honestly surprised he scored anything at all. The power outages. The Pig family loses power with a frequency that makes no sense for a household in their financial situation. These are not people struggling to pay bills. They renovate entire houses without blinking, take international holidays casually, and buy their kids so many toys that a dedicated storage cabinet overflowed. So why does the power keep going out? Greg. He knows the house, he knows the wiring, and when he's feeling resentful, which is probably often, he kills the electricity just to make everyone miserable. The Pig parents have gone through it so many times that they don't even panic anymore. They just wait it out, because they know who's responsible and they're too afraid to say anything. The most chilling detail is how the power came back. It didn't come back on a timer or randomly. It came back at the exact moment the family stopped being upset and started actually enjoying the blackout, playing games by candlelight, laughing, turning it into an adventure. Greg was watching them, and when he realized his disruption was bringing the family closer together instead of tearing them apart, he gave up and turned the power back on. He wasn't done making them suffer, he was just waiting for a better moment. The intelligence shifts. One final piece of evidence that ties everything together. George's intelligence fluctuates in ways that are impossible to explain if you assume you're always watching the same child. Most of the time he struggles with basic tasks, which makes sense. He's a toddler still figuring out the world. But then completely out of nowhere, he performs at a level that would impress children twice his age. In ice skating, he takes to the ice like he's been training for years. Graceful, confident, completely at ease. In musical instruments, he picks up the French horn and plays it like a natural, with zero learning curve. These aren't the abilities of one child. They're the abilities of two different children who have been developing along completely different lines. The episodes accidentally reveal which twin we're watching based on what he's capable of in that moment. So there it is. The full case for Greg Pig. The inconsistent hearing. Results: the out-of-character aggression. The attic full of toys with nowhere else to explain them. The mysterious initials at the bottom of a scoreboard. The power outages that stop the moment they stop working. The impossible skill fluctuations that no single toddler could explain. None of it makes sense with one George. All of it makes sense with two. Somewhere in that house, right now, sitting in the dark behind a stack of boxes, Greg is watching, waiting for his next opportunity to slip downstairs and take his brother's place. And the scariest part? He's been doing it for years, and nobody has stopped him yet. Next time you watch an episode and something about George feels just slightly off, trust that feeling, because it might not be George at all. Think Greg Pig is real? Drop a comment below and let us know what you think his next move is going to be.